Hello, Arkport families. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll give a couple more minutes to see if anybody else joins us. But tonight we do have Mr. Hahn, our 712 principal, Nurse Smith, and Mrs. Smith, our PK6 principal, with us. We're going to do our best to answer as many questions as we can. What we found over the last week, as everything continues to change, is that we have a lot of answers. But if we do not have an answer for you tonight, we will get that information as soon as we can. We do have the ability to see questions coming into us from either Facebook or YouTube. So those will show up and we can post them for people to see, similar to the comment that I just made about us starting shortly. So feel free to post a comment either on Facebook or YouTube. Mr. Hahn, Nurse Smith, Mrs. Smith will help me as I'm talking through the slides, especially if there's a question that is on the topic we're on right then. But please understand, if we don't get your question right away, there is a question and answer section at the end of the presentation. So we'll come back, and especially if we haven't answered a question, but feel free to put your comments in and we'll go ahead and get started. So just kind of the rundown of what we're going to do tonight. We'll talk about our reopening plan. We'll talk about in the broad sense, all the COVID-19 prevention strategies we're going to go through, and then there's questions at the end. So if you do not know, all of this information is posted on the district's website. So if you go to the menu, click the menu, then there's reopening 2021, and then it's under the latest news. So everything we're talking about is there. So you always have the opportunity, if you want to go back to that information and look up anything we're talking about. As we go through the next couple weeks and months, what strategies and what risk level we're at will always be posted at the top of the page for quick reference. But then there's more information. Below that on the page, there are question and answers from our last thought exchange. But there's a lot of good information there, and that's right on our website. So we'll jump right in, and please don't hesitate to ask questions as we go through this. So the prevention strategies, and again, I'm going to give you the broad view, and then we can get into more detail as questions pop up. So what are we doing at Arkport this year for prevention strategies? So we are going to continue doing daily screenings with two differences. We will not be checking temperatures. What we found last year is that through all of the quarantines, and Mrs. Nurse Smith, just give me a thumbs up, I don't believe we quarantined one person for a temperature last year. So it was not a good indicator of illness, non-COVID or COVID. So we're dropping that part, but we'll still be asking the screening questions. Do you have any of the symptoms? Have you been in contact? Have you tested positive? And that is faculty, staff, and students. So that will be daily. It's a level of our prevention strategy. It keeps it in the forefront of people's minds. We will not be doing that at bus stops. We'll be doing that as kids get off the buses at school. And that is not, let me say it this way. If the state allows us any flexibility and it becomes not necessary to have daily screening, we will discontinue that during the school year if we have that flexibility. So distancing. Distancing is a little bit different this year. We are going to have at least 3 feet in between students and their desks. And there's been a lot of talk about 3 feet versus 6 feet. We actually don't, in the normal case, we actually are farther apart than 3 feet in classrooms. Putting desks 3 feet apart is really close, and closer than we normally do. So in classrooms, we'll be at least 3 feet apart. In chorus and band, we will be at least 6 feet apart. And then in PE, when we're inside, we'll try to maintain that 6 feet. But that's kind of the breakdown of what we're doing in the classes. And I will take breaks every once in a while to encourage people to put questions in if they have them. All right, next up, masks. So this past week, New York State came out with their mandate for masks in all PK-12 schools. So in our approved plan through the Board of Education, we had a leveled strategy for during different levels of risk for the school with COVID-19, we would wear masks more and more, but the state mandate trumps our plan when it comes to masking. So masking is required for all faculty, staff, students, and visitors at all times during the school day while we're inside. Masks are optional outside. Now I say optional because regardless of what goes on over the next couple months, and even into the next couple of years, I think some people will be wearing masks at some level. So I say optional because even if they're not required, faculty, staff, students, and visitors do have the option of wearing masks outside. And if they ever become optional inside, people will still have the option of wearing masks inside as well. We have our first question. Sarah, will masks be provided by the school again? We do have cloth masks available. We did not do the bulk order that we did last year. We will have masks available for any individual that needs them, and also we'll have disposable masks. But if any family does want masks, we have plenty of cloth masks. If a family needs masks, just get in touch with either for an elementary student, Mrs. Smith, or for a high school student, Mr. Hahn. We have those available. The next question, Julie Mary. If we have space, the students 6 feet apart, can they unmask at their seats inside? That's a big difference. Mrs. Mary, thank you for that question. It's a big difference from this year to last year. Last year, if we were 6 feet apart, we could unmask. We do not have that option this year. New York State said they didn't even talk about it. So that even though we in some spaces we could space 6 feet apart, we still don't have the option of removing masks at that time. Like I said, masks can be taken off outside. We have our outdoor learning spaces. The tents are back up. The picnic tables going under them. We're actually even going to get some whiteboards for outside, so classes can even go out for more of that time. Our PE classes will be going out as much as possible. The question in other conversations I've been having over the last couple of days are mask breaks. The state plan last year did have required mask breaks. The state plan this year does not mention masks and mask breaks at all. Now, they will be able to take their masks off at the seats when they're having their snack in the elementary, when they're drinking their water at the elementary, or at the high school when they're drinking the masks, taking a break. We also do allow the teachers the professional responsibility and the ability to take mask breaks when appropriate during the day. So those are a possibility at Arkport. So we have a question. So they have to wear their masks 100% of the time. When you look at the rule, yes, 100% of the time. But they can take them off outside. They can take them off during lunch. They can take them off when they're drinking water or eating food. So there will be multiple times a day that our students do have a break from masks. Again, and this is going to be a question point. Yes, those times I just went over about when they will be able to take them off. So, Melissa, thank you for bringing that up, because as much as we're different and there is an old rivalry between Arkport and Canastaiga, we share a border. The big difference, Canastaiga did post that they're allowing masks removed when seated and 6 feet apart. That is because, and then Melissa, thank you for following up with the next one, that is Allegheny County DOH guidance. So we are not, obviously we're not in Allegheny County, and that's a big difference between Steuben and Allegheny County right now, but we are under Steuben's direction with the state mandate, and Steuben County has not given us that freedom like Allegheny County had given Canastaiga, and not just Canastaiga, all schools in Allegheny County. Now, this change in masking happened less than a week ago. I'm going to ask for parents' patience as we go through the next couple of weeks. As soon as we are given any latitude, our plan that it was approved by our Board of Education does have leveled use of masks at that, and we approved that plan on purpose, even knowing that the state was going to come in with a mandate most likely, because as soon as there is a break from that mandate or confusion, we fall back to our plan. So no, Mrs. Mary, Steuben County is not offering any direction regarding unmasking. They are taking a literal line right now on the mandate. But again, if that changes, we will inform all of you and make those changes that match our approved plan that you can find on our website. Keep the questions coming. I'm going to go forward, but I don't mind jumping back if there's other mask questions or anything else. Remote learning. It's a strategy. I bring it up only because we have no plans for remote learning. But as we think about what may happen during the school year, I want to bring everybody back to last year. We ended up closing the 2 days before the beginning of Christmas break. And that was because we were seeing cases rise within the district. And so while I have no plans on going remote, I just want to make sure all parents know that that's a possibility depending on the number of positive cases in the district. I think there was a follow-up question regarding masking from Yvonne. So it's up to the school and you to choose this. It is not up to the school to choose masking or not. It is based off the state mandate and guidance from our county health department. So that's the big difference between Arkport and Canastaiga. Even though we share a giant border, Canastaiga is in Allegheny County, and they are being given permission to separate by 6 feet and unmask by Allegheny County. We are not getting that permission from Steuben County or the state. Tanya Hellis, good question. If parents don't agree with full mask because of medical or other reasons, can the parents decide to take the kids out of school and then bring them back if it lifts? So that's a double question, Mrs. Hellis. If there is a medical reason that a student cannot wear a mask, I encourage you to contact Nurse Smith, and we can walk you through the procedure of what that looks like. It's not there's a process, but we've had students who do have medical exemptions. If there is a reason a parent doesn't agree with full masks for other reasons besides medical, there are parents who have made that decision, not even this year, but last year included. I just encourage you to call either your administrators or me if you have questions of that type. because parents are making that decision, and we want to be as supportive as possible. And yes, we've had parents and families bring in students as even last year as condition changed, we had students re-entering the building. So the students of Arkport are always our students, and we work with the families to work out what's best for your family, but a student can always re-enter the school when the family sees fit to do that. I just encourage any questions like that. We are here to answer them and work through that. We can't do a lot in broad-based because every single student, every single family has a different set of circumstances, but give us a call. Okay, so testing. This is a big change from last year. We have the ability to offer tests to faculty, staff, and students. Now, these are rapid tests. And I'm going to say it now, and I'll say it probably 15 more times today. Please pass the word along. We cannot test a student for COVID-19 without written permission from parents or guardians. No student will be tested without written permission from parents or guardians. Okay? We can't do it without written permission, and we wouldn't do it without written permission. So I think tomorrow or early next week, permission slips are being sent home to all families with a return address stamped for us. If you would like to give the school permission to test your child for COVID-19, you need to return that. Now, why would we do that? And we've been given permission to test students to help keep them in school. Last year, a lot of students went home, and it was because they had COVID-like symptoms, but they did not have COVID-19. So an elementary student has a runny nose, they can go to the nurse's office if Nurse Smith or Nurse Ahern, who's helping us out again this year. If we have your written permission, we can test the student. It's just the lower nasal swab. It's not the deep brain one. If it comes back negative, that student can stay in school. And that's a big difference from last year. The fact that we are allowed to test and keep students if it's non-COVID, and also we kind of forget the way nurses operated even just 2 years ago. All parents need to remember, if a student has a temperature or is throwing up, those are automatic go home for 24 hours, and that still applies. But if it's run-of-the-mill, low-level symptoms, we can test and keep the child in school. And so we have that ability. We need your permission. And just so you know, a couple things. If we do have your permission to test, and we do, you will be made aware of that. Nurse Smith, Nurse Ahern, every time our students go home or they go to the nurse office, they always call us anyways. So just know, even if you give us permission, you'll still be made aware of whether or not a student is tested. So that's one thing I want everybody to remember. And number two, I actually had this question from a parent today, especially for our younger students. If parents are concerned about how they will react to being tested, if there is any concern about just making them comfortable, we will allow parents to come in, at least for the first one, to be with the child if that's a concern. And hopefully through that first one, they see it's not a big deal if you do allow us permission. But we want to extend that hand because we're just trying to keep our kids in school. And I know you guys want to keep your students in school as well. So if we need to partner with you to make sure our students understand what's going on and that it's okay, we're willing to do that as well. And Nurse Smith and Nurse Ahern would be happy to accommodate families. So I'll just stop there for a second to kind of let the testing aspect sink in and see if there's any other questions that pop up. Mr. Hahn, Mrs. Smith, am I missing anything at this point? You can just give a thumbs up even if you don't want to unmute. Okay. The other thing that we are able to do is that, and so we just went through the scenario if a student is sick during school and they can stay. There are other situations where a student might wake up with some of the symptoms. Last year, they couldn't come to school. This year, they can. We just need you to give us a little bit of time in the morning to be able to test that student. You'll be able to come in with your student, if they are coming in with just mild symptoms that they would normally come to school with, then we would ask you to come in with them to the nurse's office. They'll get tested right off the bat, and then they can go to class if they are negative. We ask you to come in with them just in the very low chance that they're positive, so that we can make sure they can have a ride home if necessary. The question came up, will be called before the test is done at the school. Not necessarily. Now this is, Ashley, this is where I encourage you to contact Mrs. Smith. It depends on the student, just depends on the case. If we have your permission and if the student is comfortable getting the test, we wouldn't necessarily call you before it occurred. Now, at the beginning, if we're getting young students used to it, we'll handle that on a case-to-case basis. But again, we're just trying to keep the students in school. This is a very different, none of us, I think, can remember large-scale testing in school at any time. So we'll work with parents. My son has allergies, and I want to know if you've taken those into account for so-called symptoms. We have, Yvonne. So if you can get us a note saying that your son, child, and I'll just go to other parents, your child has a standing condition such as allergies, you just get Nurse Smith that doctor's note, and then we will absolutely take that into account. So that, let's be specific about that one. Every time they have an allergy symptom, they're not going to get tested for COVID-19 if we have that standing doctor's note. What if older kids are vaccinated? Does this make any difference at all with anything? It does help with quarantines, and it does affect testing as well. So that information just got changed today. So Jessica, I don't want to speak too out of turn, so I will make sure that we push that information out to families as soon as I get solid information on how vaccination status will affect testing. Quarantines, they still will occur in some very limited circumstances. Because we will be wearing masks and because we will be separated by at least 3 feet, no one will be quarantined for close contact. So in classes, quarantine should not occur. Because of our space restrictions in our cafeteria, students will be closer than 3 feet without masks on. So quarantines could occur from lunchtime, but that's the only time during the day that they could occur. And so quarantines do follow the same schedule as last year with a 10-day quarantine for close or proximate contact. It's anything under 6 feet without masks on for more than 10 minutes. So the number of quarantines will be cut down dramatically from last year. And I know that'll be a help to our families as well, because we all know the younger the kid, when they're quarantined, it's not just them that gets quarantined, it's their families as well. So the number of quarantines should drop by over 90%. This is Mary. And are we allowing students to leave for lunch? I'm just waiting for participation from the other people on this Zoom. So Mr. Hahn.
For the high school, we are allowing students in grades 9 through 12 to leave campus for lunch, yes. With written permission from a parent or guardian, and those were mailed home within the last couple of weeks. So as long as we have that signed and back to us, students can leave for lunch if they're in grades 9 through 12.
Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Ventilation. Sometimes we don't think about all the prevention strategies that we're using. Ventilation is one of them. You know, the buses have the windows down. The classrooms have their windows open as long as it's above 40 degrees. And then we're just making sure we're moving air through. I think a follow-up question. We can't do that on Family ID with the lunch permission. We do need actual signed permission, just like a bunch of other things for lunch privileges. We could look into doing that on Family ID in the future, but not this year. Yvonne has a question. How are special education's classes working this year as they did prior to last year? And I'm just looking at Mr. Hahn and Mrs. Smith. That's my understanding. They are back to their normal schedules and their normal setup, just like all other classrooms for special education classrooms. Illness, we kind of went through that. We are still tracking the COVID-19 symptoms, but I think the fact that we have in-house testing, either for when somebody gets sick here or the ability to come into school for at-home sickness is going to help a lot with our illness. It's just looking at those, that list of about 10 common COVID-19 symptoms that we have to keep looking at. I know the county is also looking on getting tests out to families as well, so I'll keep you guys up to date with that as also. Mr. Hahn, you started talking and the questions are just coming through.
So it's our goal to give seniors as much as we can. Privileges are going to be allowed for those that are in good standing. We're hopeful to still have a homecoming, just to talk about the beginning of the year. And if you think back to the end of last year, although it started pretty slow for our seniors, we were able to offer quite a bit to them at the end of the year. And we're thankful that we were able to do so. So Kaylee, we will offer as much as we can to the senior class for sure.
Homecoming week is on the calendar.
Yep.
For third week of September, I believe.
Yep.
All right. Elementary parents, please don't leave Mrs. Smith out of this. She definitely is looking for some questions as we go through this.
That's all right.
Okay. Hand washing, we do have, we are under construction for bathrooms, but we do have plenty of hand washing. I want to remind parents that PK, kindergarten, first, second, and third grade this year, Mrs. Smith, all have sinks within their classrooms. So that's a big chunk of our students who have hand washing readily available in their classrooms. And even though we're going through construction in the bathrooms, we're phasing the bathrooms for the school year and making sure that we still have enough hand washing for our older students as well. Prevention strategies, disinfection. We are still gonna, based on kind of the circumstances around us, whether we're low, medium, high, or high, we will ramp up the disinfection as needed, but we are still doing the everyday cleaning, the disinfection of high surface area, high contact surface areas, and then we go from there. So we're still doing that disinfection. Mrs. Hoyt, I see your question. Give us a call. We will work something out for your family circumstance. Don't worry about that. Give Mrs. Smith a call and we'll figure that out. All right. I think we've done a pretty good job of hitting the questions as they've come through. I wanted to keep it short and leave plenty of time. Oh, sorry, Ben, give Mrs. Smith a call. and she'll help you out with that. We'll definitely set something up for your family. Sarah, great question. We not only allow it, we encourage carrying of reusable water bottles during the day. At all levels, we encourage that. And so we are actually going to be purchasing water bottles for spot use if a student doesn't bring theirs, but at the same time, we can actually give them to families if they need it. So yes, we encourage the use of reusable water bottles, because one of the best ways to get a mass break during the day is to have a drink of water. So good question, Sarah. Thank you. All right. We'll stay, we won't end soon. We'll give it a little while to see if there's any other questions that come in. I'll take this chance to remind anybody that's on here that open house is Thursday, September 9th. I'm looking for nodding heads from the other people. Thursday, September 9th, 5:30 to 7. We're looking forward to having everybody come in, see their classrooms. It is masked, so please understand that. We all have to wear masks while we're inside, but I will take masked students and parents in the school over last year where we did not have an open house at all. So we're looking forward to everybody. We're having our book fair. We can't wait to have everybody here again. So that's Thursday, September 9th at 5:30. Yes, I can follow up with an email if you'd like me to. I can send one to you, sir, specifically with some details. You can always give me a call, but I can send you a link to the information that we just went through as well.
Mr. Harper, families can also access this on Arkport's YouTube channel, correct?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
That'd be a good way to watch it back and see exactly what was talked about.
Yeah, it is on YouTube and Facebook. It's always there to search for. So actually, yes, that's even better than an email. Just find the video. Jennifer, we're looking forward to the school year too. It's different. It's different than last year. But we loved having our kids last year here. And the fact that we're all in person, and we'll get through this first part of the year. And I am just holding out hope that the state continues to give us more and more freedom to do what we know is best for our students and our area. And I'm hopeful that that does actually happen this school year. But I'm looking forward to the year no matter what. I can't wait to get our kids back. We'll stick around for a couple minute or so to see if there's any other questions. But if not, I really appreciate everybody joining us, and I hope you have a great night. Thank you. Christy, I don't know the question to that one. Mr. Hahn, do you know the question to that BOCES specific question?
Yeah, we'll be very flexible with our students who are going up to the Wildwood campus for the upcoming school year. But Tuesday's a bit of a unique day because Wildwood isn't opening until Wednesday the 8th. So certainly, Christy, will be flexible with those students. Just have Cameron come in and out through the attendance office, and we'll make sure that all works out for him for that first day. He and others that are in that situation.
Thank you. A different topic, but yes, we are always looking at better ways, and we have a possible solution this year. And I'll just leave it at that for the drop-off line. So we're always looking to make that go a little faster, and we are working on that. I didn't even think this. Will community groups be allowed an info table at open house? Absolutely, you will be able to. Just got to be masked, But we will actually, I'm writing myself a note right now that we will have that available. Please share that with other people. I'll try to push that out to our normal groups that come in. But you'll be in the cafeteria with the book fair. And so we'll have some tables set up for community groups. That's a great question. We get 1 year of no practice and we forget some of those things. BOCES specific questions, feel free to call Mr. Hahn. I know that's the tough one, but as students, whether they have morning or afternoon classes, will be, like Mr. Hahn said, will be flexible in allowing those students to leave early and not have to just stay here when they have no classes. So just have your junior or senior make sure they touch base with Mr. Hahn right away. We'll make sure that they can go home with parents and we'll figure it out from there. No, thank you about the community groups. That's a great reminder. As much as we can get back to normal, even while wearing masks all the time, we're going to do that. I'm actually excited about it, inviting our groups back in. It'll be good to see other people here as well. All right. I think we'll end it there. We appreciate your time. Spread the word that this video is online, and don't hesitate to email an administrator or Nurse Smith if you have any questions. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Enjoy your Friday and the weekend, and we absolutely can't wait to have our students back. And this is a great question to finish on. Will messages be sent through Remind app if there is a new rule during the day, or is that a robocall or email? If there is a major change, if there is any change, I won't even just say major. If there is a change on what we are doing regarding our prevention strategies, that will always be at least a robocall and most likely a remind with email, with text message as well. We'll make sure that information gets out. And is there a BOCES meeting tomorrow, Mr. Hahn? Mrs. Smith is nodding her head. Is there a BOCES video meeting?
I know because I'm a parent.
Yes. All right. So is that another video conference for BOCES parents? Thank you for that reminder. All right, parents, families, guardians, thank you so much. Have a fantastic night, and we'll see everybody next week.